The trivia question is there are only two players who hit 1,000 hits in each league on different teams, on one team. The other one is even harder than the you're in, is Vladimir Guerrero, who hit 1,000 singles, 1,000 hits for Montreal Expos and 1,000 hits for Dallas Texans. But one of the other guy played in the National League for San Diego. You know who it is?
Yeah, like that one.
Okay, Dave Winfield hit 1,000 with the Yankees and then 1,000 with San Diego. I have more to. You want to instead of a press conference, why don't we do baseball trivia? I love it.
I came prepared.
Here's a good one. Here, go ahead.
There's two Yankee left-handers in 3 perfect games. I'm sure you know their names, but you can give their names. But what high school did they both go to?
Oh, jeez. Go ahead. What?
Point Loma in San Diego.
Really?
Larson and David Wells.
Yes, yes. Okay, here's my other one. This is an interesting one. There are only 2 days in the calendar where none of the 4 major sports teams have played. Baseball, football, hockey, basketball. It's a hard one, but it's when you hear it, you'll go, oh. Go ahead, figure it out. Any guesses?
February 29th?
Yeah, that's a good guess, but it's wrong. They sometimes play then. Some people say Christmas, but there's no. Thanksgiving, New Year's. So here it is, the day before and the day after the All-Star game. See, and that's an easy one to remember, and it's a good trivia question. Okay, the baseball owners have an annual meeting in Washington, and I ask them trivia questions there, and some of them are pretty good. Okay, let's get started.
Let's get started. So our majority leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, our senator from the state of New York, we are really pleased to welcome you to Genesee County,
Shelley.
More specifically, my hometown of LeRoy.
Right.
We know that today you're going to bring us great news, especially for our STAMP campus.
Yes.
Our Genesee Economic Development Center, has worked long and hard for the development. Today brings us that great news, not only for STAMP, but for our economy here at this car dealership. So welcome again to Genesee County.
Thank you.
The press is yours.
And just like the chip spill, that handshake was bipartisan.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I want to thank Shelley for being here. She does a great job as chair of the Genesee County Legislature and legislator from LeRoy. And do you remember that great thing that happened with LeRoy about 20 years ago?
I do.
The picture of Henry Clay. It's in the Capitol right now.
It is. It is beautiful.
Henry Clay, this is for you, Scarlett, was a very famous senator from Kentucky. And he was known as the great compromiser. He would bring people together. And they found a picture, an original portrait of Henry Clay in a home in LeRoy, and we got it dedicated. And guess who came to the dedication? Tom Carper, the senator from Delaware, is a direct descendant of Henry Clay. And he came. There you go. Okay. None of these are important as Arthur, though. Okay. All right. So first, I want to thank Brad McAreevy from the head of the Rochester Auto Dealers Association. We have Peter Ballesteri. He's from the AAA of Western and Central New York. Shelley, you heard. Ray Yakuzo, who's the deputy mayor of the village of LeRoy. We have Amy Lepsch. She's the consumer who she's the mother of Arthur.
Me, I am the mom.
Right? She's the mother of Arthur. We have Matt Bennett, who's the general manager here of Bob Johnson Chevrolet. We have Matt Landers, our Genesee County manager. We have Earl Wells from Genesee County EDC. And we're expecting Bob Trowski and Miguel Carballo, who represent the UAW Local 1097, which I guess is the Lexington plant, right? Yes, and I've always defended they were going to close the Lexington plant as they were going to close Lockport, and I kept them open when the merger was with Delphi, and now, well, you'll hear about that later. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for being here. Now look, for too long, families here in New York, upstate New York, and in the rest of the country have been caught at a red light with no end in sight. As the Bob Johnson workers will tell you here, because there's a national chip shortage, car sellers can't get the inventory they need. And that has hurt our economy. Dealers have a backlog of months. The models end up being more expensive. and people are frustrated and don't know where to turn. You can ask Amy Lepsch. She has been waiting 6 months for her new Chevy Colorado. It's beautiful. There it right is. And she's getting it today, but she wanted to get it 6 months ago. And she bought her vehicle here in February, had to wait. What's happened? Because of this, it's also caused the used car market to skyrocket in cost. Because when people can't get a new car, they go for a used car. 1/3 of the core inflation in this country last year was due to the high price of automobiles. And why is that? Because we are short of chips. These semiconductor chips, which I want to make upstate New York the center of manufacturing, but that's a separate thing, we'll get to it. This shortage of chips means that car prices go up, wait up times go up to 6 months. So, they have it, I said it wrong. This chip shortage is driving up prices, driving up wait times up to 6 months a year to get your car, and driving Rochester families, Rochester Finger Lake families, and Western New York families up against the wall. But I come with good news that's going to hit the gas, because help is on the way to fix the national chip shortage. This week, the bill that I wrote, along with Senator Todd Young of Indiana, he's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. It was a bipartisan bill all the way. Chip shortage is not a Democratic thing or Republican thing. It's a problem for all Americans. This bill was signed into law by the president. You may have seen, I was there. I got to speak at it. I had the honor of speaking. And the bill is going to greenlight our supply chain of chips, get rid of those woes. It's going to have manufacturing of chips come back to America, no longer go to China. We invented the chip. Our American genius created it. 20 years ago, we manufactured close to half the chips. Now we manufacture around 10%. And that shortage, and it's a national security issue also, because if China and the closely related island of Taiwan have all the supply of chips and they cut it off, our economy would come to a screeching halt. So this is a great day that we'll have this bill. The main reason we're in this crisis is we currently don't make chips in America. And so 75% of all the chips come from East Asia. Because of the pandemic, and because we were barely able to make any domestic chips here, auto manufacturers had to halt production. There were layoffs at Tonawanda and at the Ford stamping plant, also in Buffalo. I don't think Lockport had layoffs, and I know the Lexington Avenue plant, which employs 1,000 people in Rochester, didn't have layoffs, but those two plants did. But drove buyers, as I said, to seek used cars, and that pushed the price of used cars up. So 1/3 of the rise in core inflation was due to the chip shortage based on car sales. A modern car, Arthur, I don't know if you know this, he not only has a heart and a brain and a soul, he's got 3,000 chips in there. Yeah, that's good. But the modern car has about 3,000 chips, powering everything from climate control to shift timing. The newer cars have more. And our UAW folks can tell you firsthand how the chip shortages are slowing down productions. As I said, there were temporary layoffs at the Tonawanda plant in Buffalo just a few weeks ago because of the chip shortage. What does my bill do? The CHIPS Act, it's called CHIPS and Science Act. It provides over $50 billion in federal incentives to have the chips made here. We say not only do they have to make the chips here, but they can't make any more of them in China. And that is very, very good for America. You know what we're saying? We want to build the future in Batavia, not Beijing, in Syracuse, not Shanghai. So I wrote this legislation with upstate in mind, and because there's no place in America that stands better to benefit from making chips here in America than upstate New York. We have more shovel-ready sites, including the stamp facility right here in Genesee County, than any place in the country. We have over in Albany the center of high-end research at UAlbany, and I'm going to use my clout as majority leader to make it the center of the country with $5 billion of federal money for all of our semiconductor advanced research and development, which attracts people here. We have a great workforce here. We have great universities here. And we have, because we have cheap water and cheap electric power, which these chip plants need as well. So you put that all together, and we are ideally suited. And now that this bill passed, I will be using my clout to try and get these people here. We've already started to see some of the incentives. I was here last month in Rochester announcing that Corning is expanding its plant, spending $139 million, employing 270 new people in good-paying jobs because they knew this bill was coming. That's on top of other expansions. Global Foundries over in Albany is now, I helped them bring the first plant here in 2009. They are the biggest supplier of chips. They are the biggest American manufacturer of chips for automobiles. Arthur probably has chips that were made in Saratoga because they're the biggest supplier, and they're building a new plant, employing another 3,000 people and helping us again overcome this chip shortage. So and we have a new, Wolfspeed opened a new plant in Utica, in Marcy actually, and On Semi is acquired a fab in East Fishkill in the Hudson Valley. So the companies are seeing upstate New York as the place to be, and we hope there'll be many more, and we're fighting very hard to get one at Stamp, which is the Batavia, the Genesee County plant, and it's shovel ready and has a great opportunity. And some of the chip companies, I'm not allowed to say who, but I think our folks know, have already visited here a couple of times. The bottom line, this manufacturing chips here in New York has the potential to be our 21st century Erie Canal. The connection goes through chip manufacturing as opposed to water. Now, we did other things, and by the way, this is not going to happen immediately. Obviously, they got to build the plants, but it'll make sure this never happens again. The kind of shortage that here at Bob Johnson our people are waiting for and across the state. Once we build chips in America, no matter what happens overseas, we will have the chips here and they will be made here. But it's even helping now, because knowing that this has happened, our chip manufacturers are speeding up production because they know there's going to be more help on the way. So it's helping now somewhat, and it'll help a lot more once we get these plants built. Now, that's not all we were able to do. As many of you know, on Sunday, after a lot of negotiations with Senator Manchin, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and that's going to lower the cost of prescription drugs dramatically for upstate New Yorkers, including a cap on insulin for all Medicare folks at $35. The climate parts will deal with global warming and climate change, but there's money in there. The average upstate New York family by 2030 will save $1,000 on their electric bill because there'll be newer and cheaper power. Appliances will cost less and be more efficient. You want to put a solar panel on your roof, it'll be much cheaper and easier to do. So there are huge benefits in terms of out-of-pocket costs, as well as all the other things in that bill that we have done in that bill. So that's good. And that's going to mean people have more money in their pockets to buy cars. They don't have to spend it on insulin. They don't have to spend it on drugs. They don't have to spend it on electric bills. I can buy Arthur's sister.
Hey, let's do it.
Annabelle.
Let's do it.
So in any case, that's great. And by the way, another thing that happened in that bill is we're encouraging electric cars. I have talked in very strong terms. I try to use my clout as majority leader to the head of GM and the head of Ford to say, when electric cars come, we want jobs here in New York, in Western New York. And already they've announced one major component of electric cars going to be made at Lockport, and that's going to bring about 280 new jobs to Lockport. I was here announcing that about 6 months ago. So we did that. So that's the bottom line here. We're going to deal with the shortage of cars by dealing with chips, because the chips are needed, and we're going to have lots of benefits for people here in Western New York and in Batavia and Genesee County. So with that, let me call on Brad, who can tell you specifically how it's affecting our auto dealers. Brad is head of the Rochester Auto Dealers. How many members do you have, Brad?
We have a little over 100 dealerships, almost 5,000 employees.
There you go. That's a big industry.
Thank you. Thank you,
Go ahead.
Senator.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brad.
it. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
As the Senator mentioned, I'm Brad McAreevy. I'm the president of the Rochester Automobile Dealers Association. We represent a little over 100 franchise dealers throughout the Finger Lakes region. Because these men and women assume the economic risk of owning and operating these dealerships, and it is quite a risk, approximately 5,000 people throughout the Finger Lakes region have jobs, and these are good middle-class jobs here at home. You don't need a college degree to thrive in a dealership. These are careers, not jobs. Some dealership employees have decades of experience. Some sons and daughters of the employees are now working in dealerships. Each year, these dealerships generate millions of dollars in federal, state, and local tax revenue. The investments of the dealerships in the Rochester region are replicated in thousands of communities around the country, providing more than 1 million people with a pathway to middle-class employment and contributing literally billions of dollars in tax revenue. These businesses are resilient. They're inextricably linked to the local communities that they serve. When COVID hit, they found a way to meet the transportation needs of people here in Rochester. And when the chip crisis hit, they found a way to make the best out of a bad situation. The severely constrained inventory of new vehicles is the most glaring symptom of the supply chain crisis and the chip shortage. We all need a return to normalcy at dealerships here in Rochester, the Finger Lakes region, and in communities all across the country. We know the manufacturers are making the best of a unique set of circumstances, and we hope that this legislation lays the foundation to reduce the severity of future disruptions. We appreciate Senator Schumer's leadership role in addressing this critical supply chain issue that is now facing our industry. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thanks,
we appreciate
Brad.
it.
Thank you and all the good workers at our auto dealerships. They're very nice people. Okay, now we have Peter Ballestieri. He's the Chief Information Officer of the AAA for Western New York and Central New York. I'm a proud AAA member, so
thank you, Senator
thank
Schumer.
You.
Thank you, Brad, and again, thank you, Senator Schumer, and our hosts here in Genesee County. It's interesting, AAA is actually out with brand new research today that exacerbates some of the issues that Senator Schumer just illuminated a few minutes ago. For more than 70 years, AAA has issued a report called Your Driving Costs. It looks at the average costs of owning and operating a new automobile. According to the latest research, the average yearly cost to own and operate a vehicle in 2022 has climbed over $10,000. That's approximately $894 a month. The report shows that fuel prices are pushing up the cost of ownership this year, while the semiconductor chip shortage is creating the low inventory for new vehicles that Senator Schumer illuminated a second ago. The chip shortage obviously makes it difficult for manufacturers, and it also makes it more difficult for consumers to buy vehicles. Our report is just one example of how AAA tries to educate car buyers who are impacted by the chip shortage, which has created this imbalance in supply and demand. As an advocate for traffic safety and a club for motorists, AAA supports the efforts to increase chip production, especially in the stamp program here in Genesee County. Drivers deserve the right to purchase new and safe vehicles that fit their needs. This impacts many of us personally, including myself, but it also impacts AAA in the sense that we are waiting for cars and trucks to help with our help service our members, right, which is
we
over
need you. We all use you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, over 800,000 members here in New York State. We appreciate the support from Senator Schumer's office to address the chip shortage and provide relief to car buyers. Hopefully, this will alleviate the low inventory that has been predicted through 2023. Thank you again for allowing us, AAA, myself, to participate in today's event.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. And one more announcement, not exactly on topic, but you know, I'm always trying to bring money, especially in the last few years, to the Rochester area. So I've just secured $23 million for a major expansion of the public transit at RTS, the Regional Transit Service. It's going to benefit riders across the region, and RTS has 900 employees, so it's going to help them as well. $16 million will go to build a new modern dedicated facility for RTS Access. That's RTS's paratransit fleet. $7 million, this is exciting, is going to go to the first clean hydrogen fuel cell program. RTS is going to add 5 new clean hydrogen-powered buses, 5 smaller hydrogen-powered infrastructure. And you know why that's particularly relevant? Because the largest green hydrogen fuel plant, which I helped get here, is at Stamp from Plug Power, an Albany company. They were going to move to Ohio. I said, oh no. And they're right here at Stamp. They're going to employ 280 people. It's the largest green hydrogen fuel plant in Western New York. And by the way, they make forklifts that are hydrogen oriented. And they all the Walmart. You go to Walmart, that forklift is going to use hydrogen made right here in Genesee County, no matter where in the country. So that's another announcement that I'm happy to make. Now we'll take questions on this subject. Yes, Mr. Owens.
First, it's one thing to build the plants here, but they take raw materials. Are you confident that raw materials can be
Yes.
domestically?
One of the big selling points that we have, they go out west, they're shorts of water, and even power have shortages. We have ample water. We are blessed with good water supply, and power, because of Niagara Falls and the New York Power Authority, can offer them very cheap power, which are much needed in these plants.
Silicon, copper, you think we can produce enough of that domestically?
Well, we have to start producing it, and the bill requires within a certain number of years that all of these products be produced here in America. We want to make, part of the bill is make it here, make all of these chips and the components of chips here in America, not in China or anywhere else.
Building the plants here, it's still a global market. Can United States plants be competitive price-wise?
For sure. We make them best. The Global Foundries plant has a backlog till from Ford and GM, among other places. Sorry, I mentioned Ford, is that all right? Okay. They have a backlog till 2600, not that far away, 2026. And that's why they're building a new plant.
Along
Yes.
those lines, Senator, this is great news for people who think, okay, I have 3 years left on my lease, or I need a car in 4 years.
Right.
But the dealer standing behind you will tell you it's not an immediate fix.
It's only a...
What are the conversations like about access to the chips that are already out there and getting
Right.
those faster?
We are telling the chip companies they're going to come here, and you're right. The big effect will be to avoid the next problem so it doesn't happen like this when the plants are built. And they're going to be built quickly. Global Foundries expects to have its expansion, which is, as I said, the biggest. They're in Saratoga County. They are the biggest chip supplier to cars in the country. They make a certain type of chip. What's it called? I don't know. It has an adjective before it. I forgot the adjective. And so they're going to be ready in about a year or two, and that's going to help. But they're also trying to speed up production now, knowing that they can build these plants and knowing that they're going to have a lot more supply here in America. So it's going to help a little bit now, but it's really more than anything to avoid this happening again.
Because of the money that you've secured for all these plans, I'm assuming there's some expectation that they supply our car manufacturers first before they make them marketable.
There's provisions in there that say this has to be America first in the manufacturing, in the raw materials, and in who gets the chips.
Senator, we've seen a lot of those chip plants going to Texas, Arizona producing. You did mention Global Foundry and some others here. But is there anything else in there, and I know you're going to fight for it, you say, but to make New York State more competitive against those other plants? Because again, they've all headed down there to the southwest.
Well, but like Micron announced $40 billion. What's the one? Intel. No, that's not Ohio. That's Intel. Intel said in addition to Ohio, they're spending like $80 billion. All of them, Global Foundries is expanding. We have the opportunity to get many plants, and I am optimistic that you will see plants here. Wolfspeed has already come here and expanded. So the two plants that are here are expanding, and I think new plants will locate here. We've compared the costs, and I was just in Albany announcing with the governor, New York is providing a green jobs proposal, green chips proposal, and we're going to have $10 billion to help lure the plants here. Plus, they need to get the grants. It's $52 billion, but the Department of Commerce determines who gets it. Guess who's going to be calling the Commerce Department on a regular basis? The Majority Leader of the United States Senate, who wrote this bill. I think I'm going to have a good chance. Any others on this subject? Okay. Okay, well, I usually will take that one question. Go ahead.
All right. Well, actually, I'll ask you this one.
Well, wait, you can't do a switch in bait.
You got over 900 employees at the Tonawanda Powertrain plant.
Yes.
Who have not been told anything according to their union representatives. What would you say to them? Because they're making the internal combustion engine.
Yes.
Couldn't some people get lost in this?
I have told Mary Barra, GM and Ford have both stating their future on electric cars. They know that's the future. And I have told them that we will make sure that they have to do that in New York. They've already, as I said, expanded the Lockport plant. I have talked to the union leadership at the Tonawanda plant, the best engine plant in America, and we will gain jobs when electric cars come here. I've been assured that by Ford and GM. Here.
Build electric?
They're all parts of the components, yeah. They may not build the whole car here, but they may make the electric battery here. All the components. They're starting to do it in Lockport already. Okay? Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.